Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a little bit more technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets because right now is a very decisive time for Bitcoin. What happens in the next couple of days is going to determine what Bitcoin is going to do over the next couple of weeks, whether or not Bitcoin bounces and continues to rally to the upside and continues going bullish, or if Bitcoin does indeed break levels of support that we're going to be discussing today between $5,000 and $4,500 and starts moving to the downside and we start seeing bearishness for the next couple of days. We're going to see some very important moves over the next 72 hours, I do believe, and in today's video, I'm going to be laying out the different technical indicators and the different levels of support and resistance that are going to play into that move, however it may show itself. So guys, if you enjoyed today's video, definitely consider dropping a like and hitting that subscribe button. I think we have a good video lined up today with a lot of good information. Tell me in the comment section down below after the video is over if you think that was the case, of course. Anyway, guys, without much further ado, let's go ahead and get on into it. Bitcoin, at the time of recording this video, is trading right here around $5,073.54. Of course, as we talked about in yesterday's video, Bitcoin did fall off a cliff a little bit. Bitcoin started to break bullish because we had all of that bullish momentum stored up here in this bull pennant. Bitcoin was moving to the upside, and we thought it might move up to the upside again, but I was wary because, of course, Bitcoin was running out of momentum, and we did see that Bitcoin instead decided to break bearish after a short little false break to the upside. And after Bitcoin broke bearish, that really gave us all the information we needed to know, and that was that the bears have finally taken back some ground. They've made the Normandy landings here in World War Bitcoin because they have finally gotten a foothold here so they can start potentially moving Bitcoin to the downside. Whether or not Bitcoin continues moving to the downside and Bitcoin can march all the way on to Berlin is yet to be seen, of course, but the bears do definitely have a foothold, and they are definitely going to fight for it. The bears, the people that want to take profits after this massive 2-month rally that we've seen in Bitcoin, are going to have something to say about all of this bullish price action, and I think we're going to see that. But of course, we're going to have to see what happens there. Bitcoin did fall over and did come down here and start testing support in between about $5,000 to $5,030 or so. We do see a nice little area of resistance right here, excuse me, support right here. Bitcoin did come down here, and over the last 24 hours or so, Bitcoin did indeed actually bounce off of that, and that is important to note. Bitcoin did bounce here, and I do want to inform you guys that, yes, even though I think Bitcoin's going to continue moving to the downside here, there is a strong case to be made. Maybe strong isn't the right word. There is definitely a case to be made, period, though, that Bitcoin could bounce here and start moving to the upside, guys. But if we start zooming out to the longer-term time frames, then you're going to start noticing that Bitcoin has been moving to the upside and trending upwards for about 2 months now. It's been trending to the upside in a very, very bullish way, guys. Bitcoin is up like 60-50% depending on how you measure it from when it started this rally back over here in the beginning of February, and Bitcoin has been bullish for a very long time. And when you see the market be bullish for a very long time like that, most often you're going to see some kind of reversal. You're going to see the bears take control if the bulls have been in control, and the bulls take control if the bears have been in control. So with all that introductory stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and get on into some technicals here on Bitcoin. What are we looking at on Bitcoin, and where do we think Bitcoin is going to go? Well, of course, Bitcoin has fallen down here and started testing support around $5,000, and there's a very important moving average that I want to bring to your attention, and that would, of course, be the 20 exponential moving average. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, this is such an important moving average that it's an entire video in CT2A. Very, very important moving average on basically every single time frame. It's important on the hourly chart, the 4-hourly chart, the daily chart, the weekly chart, and the monthly chart. Very important interval. Excuse me, very important technical indicator, this 20 exponential moving average. And as you can see, Bitcoin was using it as support here for a very long time. During this rally, Bitcoin was always above this. And indeed, if we continue looking back on Bitcoin, Bitcoin was using this as a strong level of support back over here in the second half of March as it was rallying up here to around $4,200 before the breakout. Before that, Bitcoin was using it as support back over here during this part of the rally. And if we continue to zoom out, for the majority of the last 2 months, Bitcoin has indeed been above the 20 exponential moving average, except for a couple times of bearishness where the bears took a little bit of they gave the bulls a little bit of a breather, a little bit of respite, and Bitcoin was able to move to the downside a little bit, people taking profits. But over the last 48 hours, we've seen that Bitcoin has indeed gotten below the 24-hourly exponential moving average would be the word I'm looking for. We did get below it, and Bitcoin has come up here and bounced, and it looks like we're trying to test it. And this is why I say this is such a decisive point right here, guys, because right now, Bitcoin is sitting above $5,000. It's sitting below the 20 exponential moving average. It's sitting above some other support levels I'll show you in a little while. Right now is really, in my opinion, the last opportunity that the bulls have to regain their control control before the bears are fully in control and they're marching on Berlin and we're able to go and win World War Bitcoin, or the bears are able to win World War Bitcoin. It's going to be a little while before we know for sure, but if Bitcoin does break to the downside here and starts moving down towards levels like $4,700, $4,800, sure, those are going to be support levels, but after we break $5,000, assuming we do, if we break $5,000, it seems to me very likely that the bears are going to be once again in control. And like I said, there's a lot of different technical indicators we have to get into in today's video, but that's the theory of what we're talking about here. If Bitcoin breaks to the downside here, it seems to me that we're at a decision point and we're going to be starting a bearish rally. A lot of times what you'll find is that in rallies, you have a day or two of the rally going on before you've really solidified that rally. And the same thing is true for downtrends. You have 2, 3, 4 days of bearishness and you want to go a certain amount of bearishness before you finally consider that a proper bearish rally. For example, in the stock market, I'm not going to get into stocks right now, but a lot of people in the stock market consider a bear market starting after you've retraced 20%. Just so happens that the S&P 500 retraced exactly 20% and didn't enter that bear market. But you want to see a certain amount of price action, a certain amount of time pass before you start to identify something as a bullish or a bearish rally. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. If Bitcoin breaks below 5K, I think we can confirm that we are now in a downtrend. With all that said, is Bitcoin going to break below $5,000? Well, there are, of course, a plethora of factors to include in that question. One of them would be the all-important 200 daily moving average. I'm going to move over to another chart that doesn't have so many lines on it, but this moving average right here is a very important moving average. As you can see, we've just seen a golden cross, and that is also important. We want to keep that in mind. That is a bullish sign, but it's one of a few right now. It's not definitely in the majority. But this right here, this 200 daily moving average, is going to be a critical level of support on Bitcoin. It's currently sitting down here around $4,650 or so on the Bitfinex chart, and it's sitting right down here around $4,550 or so on the Coinbase chart, which is what Bitcoin aligns with mostly. And we look back here on the history of Bitcoin, this is a very important moving average. Bitcoin has only been above that moving average over a year ago, back over here in February and March, towards the tail end of the bear market. As I talked about earlier, you want to see a little bit of enough time and enough percentage correction happen before you're certain that a bear market or a downtrending rally has begun. And that's kind of what we were seeing back over here in Q1 of 2018. We were looking for that confirmation of the Bitcoin bear market, and we found it, of course. But if we continue looking back in time here, what we're going to see is that the last time we saw a bullish cross on these two moving averages right over here was in, once again, this time period of the market that we looked at. And not long after we saw that cross, we saw Bitcoin start moving to the downside. On one day, Bitcoin moved to the downside in a massive way. Bitcoin crashed 37% if you use the Wixes in one day. And of course, a bull market started a month later. So it's not the end of the world if we see Bitcoin crash. I want to make that clear as well. But there are still more things that we need to talk about. One of them is very important, and that would be the daily MACD. I'm going to go back to our other chart because it's a little bit more accurate as to what the rest of the market looks like. But the daily MACD is a very important technical indicator that I do want to look at because it has been trending to the downside over the last couple of days. The histogram has, and we have seen that it has been closing in on itself ever since about the 10th of April or so, a couple days ago. And I've been talking about this because it's a very important thing that you understand when a cross is going to come on the MACD, because the MACD is a remarkably powerful technical indicator, one that you guys want to keep an eye on, especially on such a used interval as the daily chart. It's a very important interval. And as we can see, there is going to be a bearish cross happening on the daily MACD in the next 2 days, probably just about no matter what Bitcoin does. Unless Bitcoin starts rallying back up to like $5,400, $5,500, we're more than likely going to see that bearish cross on Bitcoin's MACD, which is going to drive Bitcoin to the downside. Likewise, we see that RSI and stochastic RSI are showing similar signs. Right now, RSI in general has moved us down to around 66, 67, 68, but it has been moving to the downside. We've seen a little bit of a bounce here because of daily price action over the duration of today's candlestick so far, but that's not necessarily going to last. We do see that stochastic RSI is moving to the downside in a massive way. That's a very bearish indicator that you want to keep an eye on. And speaking of stochastic RSI, we need to also look at one of the most important technical indicators right now for Bitcoin, and that would be the weekly stochastic RSI. We're out on the weekly chart, and this is what we've been talking about for over a month now. I've been warning of this weekly weekly stochastic RSI being overbought up here, guys. I've been talking about this for a very long time, and I've been saying that we're going to see, I don't care when it happens, but it is not a question of if, it's a question of when we see a major correction on Bitcoin because of this stochastic RSI. I made an entire video on this because it's so important. I've been saying that when this starts moving to the downside, when stochastic RSI finally stops sitting up here at 100 in perfectly overbought territory, when it starts moving to the downside, we are going to see a major correction on Bitcoin. Because if you look back into the history of Bitcoin, almost every single time that weekly stochastic RSI is overbought, there is a major correction. Let me give you some proof of that. The last time we saw major stochastic RSI being overbought was right at the climax of the bull market. Before that, we saw Bitcoin ramp to $8,000, and we did see a correction there. Before that, we saw Bitcoin was overbought, correction at 5K, correction at 3K, correction at 1.8K, correction back over here at a 1,000 that did eventually come. Stochastic RSI stayed overbought for a very long time. Right over here, we saw Bitcoin was overbought up at $800. Stochastic RSI almost always calls for a downtrend and a bearish rally. We saw when stochastic RSI bounced even just a little bit back over here in March, downtrend, 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 downtrend. You guys can go back on the chart and look at it for yourself if you don't believe me, but it's a very important technical indicator that we want to look at, and it is one that is calling for longer-term bullishness, longer-term bearishness, and for a longer-term correction. We want to keep an eye on that because it is going to bring bearishness. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Now, of course, previous price action doesn't necessarily predict future price action, but normally it does, so keep that in mind as well. More things that we want to discuss. Another thing that I want to talk about is simply the fact that Bitcoin has had a little bounce here, and that may not mean as much as we'd like to hope. Now, of course, Bitcoin came down here to around $4,950 or so, and we did see a little bit of a bounce. But guys, we have seen the bears take control for the first time in 2 months, so it's not unlikely that we were going to see some kind of little bounce here. But let's not get carried away and think that this is Bitcoin having the bulls come back to power and Bitcoin's going to start trending to the upside again. I do believe the bulls are powerful, and I do still believe that no matter what happens with this downtrend on Bitcoin, that we're going to see a bull market starting in the next 3 to 6 months, unless Bitcoin goes and like breaks $3,000 or something catastrophic, which I don't think is going to happen. But I want to keep in mind also that even though we think a bull market is coming, remember what I showed you earlier with that 35% crash on Bitcoin. We can see Bitcoin have major pullbacks before a Bitcoin bull market actually starts. Look over here. Bitcoin started a bull market. This is in August. Bitcoin started the bull market in October of 2015. And Bitcoin on this day retraced 35%, depending on how you draw it on other charts. It's a much deeper correction. That kind of stuff can happen. So just because we see a lot of bearishness over the next couple of weeks, which I think we're going to, doesn't necessarily mean that a bull market isn't coming. I still think that it is. With all of that out of the way also, where is Bitcoin going? With all these technical indicators, all of this information, let's try and put it all together into one theory of what Bitcoin is going to do. Well, guys, I've shown you a lot of technical indicators in today's video, and I showed you even more in yesterday's video. I'm not going to get to all of them because there are literally hundreds of them that I just simply cannot cover in one YouTube video, but most of them are predicting bearishness for Bitcoin. I wouldn't say 70 or 80 or 90% of them are, but many of them are indeed predicting bearishness for Bitcoin. That combined with our analysis of the strength of the bulls and the bears and the cyclical nature of markets, the fact that Bitcoin and other markets do tend to go on bull runs, and then they do tend to go on bear markets, of course, uptrends and downtrends being the shorter term parallels of those. Simply that alone, and the fact that Bitcoin has been trending to the upside for 2 months, would lead me to believe that we're going to see some more downtrend, and the technicals do seem to be confirming that. With all of that said, I think Bitcoin's going to move to the downside, so let's talk a little bit about levels of support. Of course, we've talked about support levels here at $4,800 and $4,650 or so. Those also correlate with Fibonacci levels. I discussed that in yesterday's video, but I'll go ahead and show you once again. If we come over here and grab our Fibonacci retracement and draw right up here, we're going to see that these levels of support correlate roughly with Fibonacci levels, sitting here around $4,975 up to our support level of around $5,030. That's a bit of a support zone. As you can see, Bitcoin had a lot of trading right here around 49.75. Definitely a support level that we're going to be looking out for on Bitcoin, especially since we've gone ahead and defined it here recently. The next one, of course, is going to be right here around $4,800. That lines up perfectly with the Fibonacci level. We see levels of resistance and levels of support back over here. Definitely going to be an important level. And then, of course, over here at $4,700, that is another Fibonacci level and another level of support based on the market. Now, I talked about those in yesterday's video, so I want to talk about some more in today's video, but I did just want to go ahead and show you guys what those were. I did not mean to put a pitchfork on the chart, but that's okay. Anyway, if we continue talking about levels of support here, one of the major ones I alluded to earlier will end up being the 200 daily moving average. This moving average is going to be crucial for Bitcoin. We want to see Bitcoin hold this, because if we look out to the weekly chart, what we'll see is that Bitcoin actually rejected off of the 50, I don't have it up, that's what it was. Right there. If we look here, Bitcoin rejected roughly in the area of the 50 weekly moving average. We saw Bitcoin come up here and test that as a resistance level, kind of. We didn't get quite to it, but we got close enough that I'll call that kind of the zone of support, the zone of resistance that surrounds moving averages. You might say that a moving average has a zone of resistance around it, kind of something like that. That's kind of a way you can look at these very important moving averages. We came up here and tested this, and now we're moving to the downside. I think that 200 daily moving average, which is curving down here, something like this, is going to be an important level of support. And also, of course, guys, the next one that's going to be an important level of support is the 20 daily exponential moving average. We've talked about that moving average on another time frame already today, and it's a very important moving average. I don't want to overstress how important it is, but it's kind of hard to, because it's such an important moving average. Bitcoin has not been above this in quite some time. We saw a wick over here, a couple of markets over here, and over here, and over here. Nothing really major. We have not seen Bitcoin get above this level in quite some time. And if we look back in time, during the last bear market, when Bitcoin got above this level for the first time after the accumulation phase started, that was the rally before the bull market kicked off. And I've talked about all that in the past, but I do want to bring that to your attention. That is a level of support, and actually, based on our technical analysis and based on the way we've been reading this market as Bitcoin being in this phase of the 2015 accumulation phase, we should actually expect that Bitcoin will break the 20 exponential moving average and not hold it as support, which might mean that Bitcoin is going back down to, say, $4,000, maybe even $3,500. We'll see what happens there. I don't want to go calling anything on that just yet. Of course, Bitcoin very well may even come all the way back down to this 200 weekly moving average. That wouldn't totally surprise me. That'd be down here around $3,500. I don't want to say right now that Bitcoin's going to go that low, because we want to see how this develops first, but that is definitely a possibility, guys. And by the way, that wouldn't be unhealthy for the market for Bitcoin to do that. It would not be unhealthy for Bitcoin to go down to $3,500, down test that 200 moving average. If Bitcoin breaks that 200 moving average, it would be very bad. But if Bitcoin just goes down there and tests it, and then we start the bull market, that's not a bad thing from a technical perspective or from a trading and investing perspective, because then you get more time to buy into the market, and we also give Bitcoin time to rest, relax, and finally go on the bull run that we've all been waiting on. So guys, tell me in the comment section down below what you think of today's videos. Where do you think the levels of support for Bitcoin are? Do you agree with my analysis that many of them are sitting in between about $46,000 to $5,000? Do you believe that the 200 daily and the 20 weekly exponential moving averages are going to be important for Bitcoin here in the coming days? We also have the 20 daily exponential moving average sitting here around $4,800 to go ahead and bolster that level of support. This is also going to be an important level that you want to keep an eye out for. Tell me in the comment section down below what you think of today's technical analysis and where you think Bitcoin is going to be headed over the next couple of days. As I said at the beginning of today's video, right now does seem to be a very decisive moment in Bitcoin. If we bounce and move to the upside, maybe Bitcoin has a little bit more fuel in the tanks. I don't think it does, though. I think the bulls are exhausted. Perhaps they're not, though. Perhaps we're reading this completely wrong, and perhaps the Bitcoin bulls can blast us off to $6,000. I think that is very unlikely, though. I think what's more likely is that the bears are going to break us, are going to break some levels of support, and we're going to move to the downside. Because like I said, guys, we're at a decisive point in the market, and we need to see what Bitcoin does here over the next couple of days. Anyway, guys, like I said, tell me in the comment section down below what you think about today's video, and I want to remind you guys that the cryptocurrency technical analysis sale that I've been running here for April, I did extend once more, and it is running on through the end of today. I'm not going to extend it anymore, though, because it's been going on for a week, and this is getting a little ridiculous, but you guys do seem to really be enjoying it. We've had like 50 people join CT2A in the last 4 or 5 days. That is absolutely ridiculous, and I am loving that you guys are enjoying the course content. Many of you guys are emailing me, telling me how much you're enjoying the content. We're having conversations. Like I said in yesterday's video, we had a conversation with DeLuca. They commented and let themselves be known, so I can say who it is. We had a conversation about Elastos. If you guys are in the course and you ever want to talk to me, all you gotta do is shoot me an email, cryptojeb@gmail.com. I've talked to many of you over the last couple of days, but many of you guys I'd like to hear from. So if you're in the course and you want to have a conversation, maybe you want to talk about a different cryptocurrency, maybe you want my take on some analysis that you've been doing, maybe you want my feedback, always feel free to give me shoot me an email. You can talk to me in the Discord server, in the comment section of the YouTube videos, or in the comment section here of CT2A videos. However you want to get in contact with me, guys, I'm always enforcing an open door policy. I like talking with you guys. I like giving you guys more value. That's kind of the point that I've always tried to have with CT2A is just to pour value into the course until I think that the course price is way undervaluing the amount of content that's in here, guys. To be totally honest, I would not feel bad for a second pricing this course at $497. There are people that price courses that have less content than this at $997, guys. So I don't feel bad for a second that after the sale that we're running, Bitcoin's, the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy is running for $119. I think that's a very fair price. And by the way, it seems that you guys do also. I've had a lot of people that are in CT2A tell me that one of the reasons they joined is because it's such a good value, and they seem to be believing that after, especially after they've gone through all these videos. There's 30 videos in the course, 8.5 hours of content. That will be increasing over the next couple of months. We're going to be ramping that up to 50 videos and over 12 hours of content here in the coming months. So watch out for that. If you join the course now, you will get access to all of that content in the future. Guys, we go over just about everything in technical analysis. Many of the things we discussed in today's video, for example, the 20 exponential moving average. I think I mentioned dollar cost averaging, or I may have been talking about that with someone from CT2A. My memory is not the best right now, but we also talk about math psychology. That's an important part of markets as well. We talk about gut feeling. That's another incredibly important part of markets. An incredibly important part of trading and investing, I should say, is having a gut feeling about what the market is going to do, and then having technical analysis that can back that up, or having technical analysis that trains your gut. We talk about that a lot. It's a very important part of technical analysis that many people don't cover, but you need to have a good understanding of that. Gauging the strength of support and resistance, and gauging the strength of the bulls and the bears. Also, two very important concepts. We talked a lot about the strength of the bulls and the bears in today's video, and we go in a lot of detail on that in that video. We talk about how to plan and execute profitable trades in this video. That's a 30-minute video where I go over 3 different example trades. I go into extreme detail about how you want to set up your trades, how you want to execute your trades, how you want to protect yourself in your trades, how to take profits in those trades, how to do everything in these trades. It's very important that you guys are able to apply your technical analysis to your trading and investing, and that's what that video is for. If you guys are new to technical analysis, we have videos on how to set up and use TradingView and Binance. Pretty much anything you guys would want. Technical indicators, we have a bunch of them here. Anything you guys would want or need for learning technical analysis is in this course. And of course, if you need something that isn't in the course, simply email me a video, because of course I will be more than happy to make a video for the course. I had to go ahead and do the alliteration there. I found that was that definitely made me laugh. Anyway, guys, I'm definitely rambling on here. Let's do one more thing. This is the last day of the sale, so let's go ahead and do one more little Easter egg for you guys who watched all the way to the end. Yesterday I had you put character names from SpongeBob in the comment section, because I'm very professional. Let's see. I've already done that. Let's see. Give me a Monty Python quote. Give me a Monty Python quote in the comment section down below. If you guys don't know this, I'm a very big fan of Monty Python. Let's have some Monty Python quotes in the comment section down below to wrap up this sale here, guys. I think that's the perfect way to end the video and the CT2A sale. So if you guys are interested in joining CT2A, links in the description. Click it. Use the April 2019 discount code. You get 20% off on the course price. And like I said, the course price at the normal price is already ridiculously undervalued. But even with that sale, it definitely is as well. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Let's get some Monty Python quotes in the comment section down below. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.